Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by Fan Arch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey. Broadcasters reflect on the fastest game on earth, and coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. Now, LCA will be the site this early evening, kind of an early start, 6:30 p.m. local start. Get the game out of the way before New Year's comes around, but Red Wings are taking on the Jets at Little Caesars Arena, and this will be the first time in their NHL careers that Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane are on opposite sides of the face-off circle from each other in a matter of words. The two were basically first came Toews in the 2006 draft. He was the first round, third overall pick. And then the very next year, we all know that Patrick Kane, first overall, first round pick. So when you get those kinds of things happening back to back, of course, if you build on that momentum, that will translate into 3 Stanley Cups in 6 seasons. So you can see where Rocky, when he took over for his dad, some of the things that really took shape in the Windy City to lead to that dynasty, the most recent dynasty in the NHL, honestly. Anyway, but going back to Toews and Kane, more or less, because you got to factor in the fact that Kane went mid-season over to the Rangers. But more or less, between those two, over their careers in Chicago, a combined 821 goals, 1,290 assists, and 2,118 points. Now that, folks, is a great combination. It reminds me of the days of Bobby Hull and Stan Mikita. But obviously, that's from Chicago. Detroit, you would probably say, Ted Lindsay and Gordie Howe kind of days. And in the more recent years, Sergei Fedorov and Stevie Y kind of numbers. So going back to those two, the hardware between those two, um, basically Kane with the Calder, the Hart, the Ross, and the Pearson, Toews with the Selke, and two Conn Smythes between them. Toews won the Conn Smythe in 2010, and Kane won it in 2013. Kane in the locker room, basically in yesterday's interviews, he said, "It'll be fun to play him for the first time ever in the NHL." So we'll see how that all pans out. I don't think there will be any scrapping, especially with two veterans like that. Uh, 15, 16 plus year careers each. Toews took a season off, it looked like. I think, back in the days when COVID was going around, some of the players deferred, and I believe he was one. I don't know if it was because of COVID or just a nagging injury that kept him out for a year. But basically, first time for these two playing against each other at the NHL level. Now, it's time for Shoots and Ladders. And always fun for Shoots and Ladders because of the Red Wings being in first place. But one thing I always bring up when we're doing Shoots and Ladders is the fact, or how many team points separate first from last. And in the Atlantic Division, only 8 team points separate the first from the last. There's a little bit different from the Central Division over there in the Western Conference. Not saying that Colorado's running away with the division, because they're not, because Minnesota and Dallas are right there with them. But the differential from top to bottom, first to eighth, and eighth being the Winnipeg Jets, by the way, Red Wings opponent tonight. But the difference between first and last in the Central Division is 31 points. So in the Atlantic, you got 8. In the Central, you got 31. So, Wings first in the Atlantic, like I said. Montreal with the win last night, leapfrogged over Tampa Bay to take the 2 spot. So they're a point up on the Lightning and a point back of the Red Wings. Like I said, the Lightning are now 2 points back of the Red Wings. They were idle last night, as well as the Red Wings were. But Montreal, with their win last night, jumped into second, and the Panthers are still at fourth. The one interesting story, and if you've been on social media, you've seen the Ferris Bueller's Day Off meme, basically. But the Sabres are on a 9-game winning streak, and they have climbed out of the cellar, and they're now in the 5th spot. in the Atlantic Division. So they're making a play to finally get, break that playoff drought, just the same as the Red Wings are, except for the Sabres playoff drought, I think is about 4 seasons, maybe 5 more than the Red Wings. It's been almost a decade and a half, if that the Sabres have made the playoffs. Maple Leafs, with their shutout win last night over New Jersey, basically have tied Boston for the 6th spot, so they're standing at the 6th and 7th spot. And now in the cellar of the Atlantic Division are the Ottawa Senators. So obviously we want to keep moving forward. The further we get into the season, staying at first obviously is always a good thing. But like I've said, only 8 points separating last from first. You just never know what's going to happen. So every game counts. Every 2 points you can grab counts. And hopefully the Wings can get 2 points tonight against the last place Jets team. Now, editor's note. In yesterday's episode, I believe I said that Casper hadn't been done for the spotlight. And that's actually incorrect. We had talked about Casper and done a little bit of a spotlight on him, I think early last week. Regardless, it's 6 or 7 episodes back, so editor's note, that's technically not correct. So now we've done Casper twice. So while we're on the second time around the horn with the players, it's time to discuss our defenseman, our stud, the guy I credit for basically starting this whole resurgence in the team, and that's Mo Seider. The 21-22 Calder winning Mo Seider. Now, in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, and this was back, late last month, but in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, Seider goes after Kastelik on the Bruins, kind of in a retaliation. I think it was for a pretty hard cross check into the boards on Axel. Seider didn't win the fight by any measure of wins losses. Nobody's saying he won. He didn't get the punch differential or anything like that. No, he didn't win the fight, but he did put fight in the Red Wings. And since that time, starting with that game, the Red Wings were trailing at that time. They ended up tying the game, ended up getting a shootout loss instead of getting a regulation loss. They are 10-3-2 since starting that fight. But one of the things that I wanted to mention today is the fact that Mo is in the discussion right now for the James Norris Trophy for defenseman. Obviously, Makar out of Colorado is always going to be in the discussion, and Makar is just leading the league right there as far as the defenseman and stats with goals and assists. Werenski's there in behind him. You got a couple others in there, but Seider has got 30 points on the season, and I've seen on Spit and Chicklets and a couple others, they're saying, look at the way this guy's going. He could be in discussions for it. So, for all I know, Makar could actually get the Hart Trophy this year. So, speaking more about Seider, I already said he's got 30 points on the season. 7 of those points are goals, 23 assists. He's got 8 points over his last 7 games. And so, aside from the 30 points that he's got, he's at a plus 12. And he has 12 power play assists. And as a defenseman, one of the more important stats to look at, 87 blocks. So Mo, always deserving of being in the spotlight. But like I said, the last 15 games that we've had, including that game where he started that fight and went after the big guy, 10-3-2. So that's 22 points in 15 games. That's very solid, especially when you're making your way, making your case, I guess is a better term, for, making the playoffs for the first time in a decade. Now, I have listened to feedback, and I've heard a couple of people say basically I could do without the no cap recap. So I'd like to maybe edge that out for a little bit, see if anybody wants me to ever bring it back. I'll still, tune up on my AI slang and everything like that. But today we're going to bring in, since it's Wednesday, we're going to bring in the Over the Hump ? Segment of the show. So what I wanted to talk about is it's been a year around the sun with Tom McLellan. Uh, Lalonde got fired pretty much the day after Christmas. They waited till after Christmas to fire him. McLellan comes in. First game he comes in as a coach is against Toronto, and the team gets beat. So obviously, wasn't the start that everybody was hoping, but he quickly turned that right around, and he was, uh, basically in the midst of winning 5 games in a row. For the Red Wings, but like through the 2 seasons, now we're talking about where the Red Wings are now, where the Red Wings were a year ago. But they were through 40 games last year. They're 18, 18 and 4, and like I said, 6 of those games were with McLellan, and the last of those last 6 they were 5-1. So you can imagine. So basically, that means they were 13, 17, and 4 without McLellan. Um, One of the things that really kind of put a damper on the Red Wings' hope for the playoffs was a couple stretches where they went 1-4, and then this worst of all was they went 3-11 over a 14-game stretch. So obviously we're not out of the woods yet. We are in first place. We're basically about 10 team points ahead of the pace that we were last year around this time, building momentum and really trying to have this cohesive game plan moving forward. All 4 lines going. We got personnel that we have improved personnel. I think that Tarasenko, obviously, I don't want to bash on him all day long, but I think he was a bad pickup last year. And we had lost out on a couple of big players that we lost out on, with including Perron and Gossipshire. I know I'm always going to butcher that, but whatever. But the Tarasenko in exchange for, having lost Perron, it wasn't it wasn't anything that really helped our chances any. Tarasenko, I don't know how well he's doing where he is now, but like I said, some things just didn't pan out. Injuries kind of caught up with us. One of the other things is, having that break in the middle of the season kind of hurt the Red Wings, I would say, just as much as anything. That Four Nations face off or whatever. And so I'm hoping moving forward this year that we don't have that kind of bad luck, especially with the Olympic break and having about 3 weeks off. So we'll see how we adjust to it, but I do like the game plan. I do like the way McLellan is running things. So yes, 1 trip around the sun for McLellan, a much more improved team sitting at first. And so we'll just see. And tonight, folks, be safe. And in all your partying and all your festivities, Happy New Year from here at Red Wings Daily. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, and LGRW from the PNW.